Good morning, and thanks for joining me today. Maybe it's your first time here, or maybe you've been watching my videos for months or even years. I'm just glad that you're here, regardless. In one of my last videos, I talked with you about how a transactional relationship can be a precursor to infidelity, or in another light, transaction is the way many of our relationships and recovery methods revolve around. Today I'm going to pick up that discussion and carry on the thought that a transactional approach to recovery will never bring transformation. I had a lot of fun with that video, but I have had lots of people reach out and say, okay, well, how do we not have a transactional approach to recovery, and how do we experience transformation? I mean, what does transformation look like? We'll talk more in the future about what transformation looks like. But at the end of the day, the goal of your repair work, either for yourself or for your relationship, I believe 100% with all that is in me, that it has to be transformational. An author that I absolutely love is Rhor, and he says we can either transmit our pain or transform our pain. The goal of everything that we do at Affair Recovery, the goal of all of my videos is not just to inform, not just to be compassionate and meet you where you're at, but hope and pray that you find a point of transformation for yourself. I can tell you that going through all that I've been through, I have experienced a transformation that has made my life not just joyful and meaningful, but in many ways, so much more rewarding than I ever thought my life could be after blowing my life apart. I promise you, if you can make transformation the goal of what you are doing, your repair work completely changes. When I was searching for a definition of transformation, there's this one definition that I thought was really striking, and it said, a transformation or a change or a metamorphosis in the character of the individual and what is sacred to that individual. And I found that to be so interesting because when we experience transformation, there is a sense of change in us where things become sacred to us. Our relationship, our children, our approach to our significant other, what we expect from our significant other to ourselves. My hope, and I know I can speak for all of the therapists and representatives of Affair Recovery, our hope is that as you are healed, you will experience this sense of wonder, this sense of fulfillment, this sense of, man, I remember where I was, and I see where I am at now. I see where I'm going, or at least I have a partial vision for where I want to go, and I'm not who I used to be, and maybe I'm not who I ultimately want to be down the road, but at least what I'm experiencing after significant work and commitment and sacrifice is I am not who I used to be. I see things different. I was blind, now I see. I was dead, now I'm awake. I was in the matrix, now I'm not. There is a change that comes where you see things, including yourself and your significant other, in a way that is life-changing. Okay, so you say, Sam, how do we not be transactional? Number one, we have to find out, where did it start? When did our relationship become so transactional? It's probably going to take, and any good therapist will take you on a road map backwards to find out, was it sports when you were growing up? Was it the way that you were parented? Was it a experience in your life? Was it modeled for you by your parents and your parents' marriage? You have to take a trip backwards and find out, how did this happen? I didn't just arrive at this place. I didn't just show up and think, gosh, how did my relationship become so transactional? No, there is a roadmap backwards. The right expert, the right program, the right process can help you identify when that happened. It could have been a job change. It could have been a health change. It could have been a significant event when you were young, or when you were in your teen years. I don't know. But as you go backwards, you can begin to find out when that happened. Next, if you're going to prevent this from happening, this transactional approach, you're going to need a system of checks and balances. That's where a good therapist comes in. That's where a program like many of the ones that we have comes in. It's a way to keep you from going back to that approach. It is a way to say, I'm never going back there. We're going to have a system of checks and balances in our recovery work as a couple, but even for yourself, where you go, hey, I'm not going back there. Well, how are you not going to go back there? I'm just going to will it, Sam. I will will myself to not go back there. Not enough, insufficient. You've probably already tried that. You're not strong enough to prevent that in the first place. And your spouse isn't going to rely upon your willpower to prevent your life from becoming transactional all over again. You need a third party. You need an expert third party. You need a system of checks and balances that can hold you both accountable. And when your recovery starts to gain some speed, you can actually hold each other accountable and say, hey, I feel like things are really transactional this week. And I don't want to feel that way. We promised ourselves we're not going back there. Let's break up the monotony. Let's go on a date. Let's read a book. Let's surprise date, surprise day off from work, surprise flowers, something that interrupts the status quo, the autopilot that you guys have been living in. Next is you need a process, and I'll say this to the day I die, and I've said it since the beginning of time. You need a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be something that just flips the script. It's going to take a process to establish change. It always requires a process. And it's going to be something that it gets better, it goes backwards, it trends up, it trends down. That's okay. Are you committed to the end result is most important. Next is it's going to involve risk. And I know, I'll be very forthright with you, it scares the hell out of you. It can be so intimidating to try and change the script. I don't know what you have experienced. I'm pretty confident it may be pretty dark. It may be overwhelming. Something may have happened that caused you to shut down, turn inward, and establish walls around you. Nobody who knows what they're doing would ever shame you for that. Nobody would ever come down on you for that. But if you're going to heal, and if you're going to experience what recovery work has to offer to you personally, you're going to have to risk. You're going to have to be vulnerable. Now, the caveat is you can't be vulnerable with someone who's unsafe. But you can be vulnerable with an expert third party or a course or a safe place for your own healing and your own recovery. Because I promise you that stuff that's inside you, it's coming out in probably dark, dysfunctional, painful, irritating, inconvenient ways. The way to begin to heal is to find a safe place and to be willing to take a step in that direction. Slow and steady wins the race. A little bit of vulnerability here, a little bit of vulnerability there. In a safe community and environment, it will be life-changing. I promise you. Until I was ready to talk about the darkness that was inside of me, I never experienced the life-changing moments, plural, where the light came into that darkness and I was able to go, you know what, I'm okay. And I'm going to be okay. And you know what? I like me. I actually love me. I enjoy me. And all of this stuff inside is getting better. Finally, my last point is you have to identify where the resistance is, both in you and maybe your partner. The resistance can be something like, well, this is just the way it was. This is the way my parents were. This is the way their marriage was. We just did this. I did this. They did that. And it could be the mentality of, oh, you know, my spouse is just a ball and chain. It could be a kid-centric marriage. It could be that you just are so focused on the kids and have been so focused on the kids. Maybe it's just focused on finances and making money and shoring up the bank account and the investments. I don't know. Maybe it's that you're just so busy and you're too busy that you haven't made an allotment for work to be done. As I said at the start, a transactional approach will never bring transformation. So there comes a point where you have to go, man, it's on me. Like, how am I making adjustments and allotment for transformation in my life? If you can't point to at least 2 or 3 ways that you are doing that, you're in trouble. And the good news is you can change. I hope that today has helped you. I promise you, for the rest of this year, if you can take this approach in your own life and in your relationship, man, I really believe there is so much life waiting for you if you can make this change.